If you're looking for your next Football Manager save, then make sure you watch this video. Whether that's to play these saves on FM24 or on FM23 with an updated database, today we're going to give you 10 different options, ranging from easy to medium to hard saves for long-term ones and short-term saves. There'll be something for everyone, so let's get right into it. Hello everyone, I'm Jake for FMSCOUT. As mentioned, today I'll be giving you 10 save ideas for FM24 or now in FM23 with an updated database. If you want to find out how to get an updated database, we did a video on that a few weeks ago that you can use for help. But before we get started with our 10 save ideas, I'm going to ask you guys, if you do get any use out of this video, please do go ahead and smash the like button for us. And if you're in this percentage of people that aren't currently subscribed to the channel, we'd really appreciate it if you could hit that button for us. It will help us a hell of a lot. And finally, let me know in the comments down below your save ideas. That way we'll have even more than just the 10 I do in this video. We'll have all of your ideas in the comments as well for everyone to check out. So let's get started, shall we? I mentioned we're going to split it up between easy, medium and hard saves. We'll start off with the easy ones, the obvious ones. I'm going to start with 2 saves in the Premier League that I think could be good fun if you want to do a short-term save. And you'll see here we are Newcastle United, who, as of FM24, will be a Champions League club. They had a great year last time out under Eddie Howe. They've built a nice squad. It looks like Tonali might be joining the club as well, and your job will be to improve from where they are, a team that got into a UCL spot in the Premier League, and become a regular mainstay in the Champions League, and hopefully push further and actually win the Champions League itself. It's not going to be easy, but it's certainly not the most difficult save in the world. You've already got some great players, you've got a good budget, and a really good starting point being a Champions League side in the Premier League. Maybe for the first few years, you'll want to just keep hitting those Champions League spots, and after that, really push for the title, and hopefully some Champions League glory as well. Newcastle were once a runners-up in the Europa League equivalent back in 1969, but they've got no Champions League, no European honours that we can see there. So your job will be to win a European competition with Newcastle United. Could be great fun, and hopefully not the hardest save ever. And for our only other Premier League save on the list, we're going for my club that I support, Chelsea Football Club, who, as we all know, had a torrid time last year, a very poor season. But as far as Football Manager saves go, they could be great fun because they are kind of playing real life football like it's Football Manager. I mean, a lot of these older players, if I sort by age, will be going. Aubameyang looks to be on his way out, so does Azpilicueta. Kante and Koulibaly have already left at the time of recording. Mendy's leaving, Ziyech is leaving, Kovacic has left, Lukaku, I don't know whether he's going to stay at the club, and Chelsea have really focused in on bringing through what might be the next generation of top-level footballers, like Enzo Fernandez, like Mudryk, like Fofana, but also players like Madueke and Andre Santos, Cesare Casadei have came through the club. Nkunku's been added to the ranks. They are trying to buy pretty much every single wonderkid under the sun, it seems. Nicholas Jackson seems to be another one coming in from Villarreal, and they are trying to build a squad for the future, which could be great fun in an FM save to try and take this young squad, mould them into title winners, and then again push for Chelsea's 3rd Champions League title. Next, we're heading over to Portugal and to manage Benfica. Now, this is a team that I've done a full rebuild with on my own personal channel, which you can find linked in the description. I always mention it in videos if anyone wants to go over and check it out, and I really do appreciate any support, but none more so than right now because we're getting very close to 20k subs. We've surpassed 19,000, closing in on that 20,000 mark. So if anyone wants to show their support, check out the Benfica rebuild and all the other rebuilds we've got on the channel. I'm sure you'd enjoy the content, so thank you to anyone who does that. But there might be a big question of why Benfica. This is still what I would call an easy save because it's not as hard as some of the others, but it's certainly not the easiest in the world. It will be a challenge that will take you a few years, I'm sure, and that is to win a European title with Benfica, particularly the Champions League. Now, you might think, why is that so special? Well, there's a very good story behind it. Firstly, though, your job in the league will be to become the dominant force in Portugal. Predicted to come second, you're up there with Porto, Braga and Sporting Club de Portugal. 4 of the biggest clubs in the nation that will be competing for those top division honours, but the Champions League is especially important for Benfica and European silverware in general. If you don't know, in the 60s, Benfica were doing very well. You can see back-to-back Champions League wins in 61 and 62, but after this success, their manager, Bela Gutmann, was let go from the club. Now, the story is much more intricate than this, but to sum it up, he basically said Benfica won't win a European trophy or the Champions League or something like that in the next 100 years. Now, it hasn't been 100 years since the 60s, of course, but since then, you can see Benfica were in the Champions League final on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 occasions and lost. Okay, maybe they won a Europa League then, right? No, they've been in the Europa League final on 3 occasions and lost all of them as well. Now, you might not believe in curses, but that is 8 European finals now that Benfica have been in without winning. But thankfully, you might have a good chance of breaking that curse with the right recruitment, of course, but also with some of the players already in Benfica's side, particularly the likes of João Veloso, one of the most promising wonderkids in FM this year. You've got Andrea Schelderup, who they've signed recently as well, who's a great player, and Antonio Silva as the gem in your defence, the 18-year-old who plays like he's 29 already, who's only going to get better too. And that's not even talking about the players in their under-23s and their under-19s that have great potential as well. This is a side that could go on to do great things. They often sell their biggest talents, but if you can get your recruitment right and hang on to your best players, you could really push for some European silverware. And for our 4th team out of 10, this is our final team in the easy section. It's a similar story, but for RB Salzburg, a team known for producing wonderkid after wonderkid out in Austria. Haaland's passed through their ranks recently, Benjamin Sesko's came through, and you can see the majority of their team are youngsters with plenty of potential. They've got a new batch coming through now, the likes of Karim Konate, Oscar Glauc as well. Moritz Kjaergaard is also a very promising talent. They are a team that keep producing these great young players and often sell them on for profit. Your job though, like at Benfica, is to actually keep that core of players there whilst also selling the ones that you need to and trying to take this team to Champions League glory. With the youth recruitment you've got, picking up wonder kids from around the world and developing them into superstars, making some cash and reinvesting it into your team. That's the plan. Win the UCL with Salzburg. You might think that doesn't sound particularly easy and might take a few years, but the saves coming up are going to take even longer. Moving into our medium difficulty saves now, there's going to be 3 of these and 3 hard saves. Don't forget to like the video if you are enjoying up to this point, but it's the club that again feature in many of these lists year in, year out. It is Bilbao, and the interesting thing about them, of course, is they can only sign players from the Basque region. That makes the pool of players that they can sign for their team very slim, yet this is a team that still manages every single year to do fairly decently in the top division of Spain, predicted 7th place here. You're going to want to produce some great youngsters at the club whilst also signing the players that you're allowed to under the rules at Bilbao. It's also one of the reasons why some of their players are valued so highly. Because Bilbao can't sign many players, they value the players they have at a very high level. The likes of Unai Vencedor here, valued at about 160 million, as good as he isn't worth that much. The same goes for Inaki Williams. So you can see the restraints you're going to be under. You've got some good young players like Nico Williams here, who looks very talented. Sanset is another player that's being linked with a move away in real life and is wanted by Arsenal here. You're likely going to have to sell some of your key assets at some point, but hopefully you can keep producing these young players to be a dominant club. Now, your job here could be one of 2 things. Firstly, to win the top division title. They last did that in 1984. It's going to be a hard job, but very rewarding if you do so, or try and win some European silverware with only players from the Basque country. Whether that's the Europa League, Conference League or Champions League, it's up to you. It won't be an easy save, but it's still easier than some of the others that we're going to come up to in the hard category later. If you're looking for a challenging save that might be out of your comfort zone for FM24, or again with a database update for FM23, then Inter Miami could be a lot of fun. This is a side that find themselves currently bottom of the Eastern Conference, if I'm getting that right, but of course, as we all know, they have signed some, half-decent players you might have heard of before, a guy called Lionel Messi, I think his name was, and also Sergio Busquets or something, but I don't know who they are, but hopefully they can help the team a little bit. But all jokes aside though, that'll be the aim with this Inter Miami side, to take them from bottom of the division. With these 2-star signings you've got, they're going to elevate your platform, hopefully carry you up the league, and then you might be able to sign some more great players. The club owned by David Beckham is going to likely have some more legends to follow. MLS saves in general are good fun if you haven't tried one before, but yes, you want to create a new era, so go ahead to the MLS, create your own American dynasty and see how you get on with Inter Miami. Heading over to the Italian second division, we are having a look at Como 1907. They're currently famous for a lake that runs through the area, but we're going to try and put the club on the map when it comes to a footballing standpoint, and that's something that's happening in real life also. There is a big push to try and make this team a real force in Italian football. They're currently in the second division. Your job will be to take them into the first division and eventually win the Italian league title. Why are they interesting though? Well, they're currently ran by a few interesting players. I mean, Dennis Wise, formerly of Chelsea, is a chairperson. We've got Thierry Henry as a director at the club. There's also someone that's involved behind the scenes that's playing for the club currently, Cesc Fabregas, who's given the team a season or so, but is also working behind the scenes at the club to try and make them a success. There's also players at the club like Patrick Cutrone here. At one point, he looked like he'd be the future of the Italian national team's forward line. Hasn't quite worked out. He's in the second division with Como. Your job will be to use these players to drag Como up through the leagues. Could be great fun anyway, managing in Italy, but also you've got that behind the scenes element of these great players trying to take the club to glory. Speaking of former players being involved with clubs behind the scene, we're moving on to our hard saves now, and our first team is FC Andorra. Their owner is Gerard Piqué, famous Barcelona centre-back, but the interesting thing that you might have been able to tell by the name is that this team in the Spanish divisions are actually an Andorran side. Now Andorra, I believe there's a crazy stat like the population of Andorra is smaller than the capacity of the Nou Camp. I haven't fact-checked that, that's just something that's in my head, so if that's wrong, I do apologise, but that is the interesting part of this save. You've got an Andorran team out in the Spanish divisions. Your job will be to take them into the first division of Spain and try and make them one of the best clubs in the country. Now that would be great fun anyway as a save idea with these good young players like Mika Marmol at the club, but there's an extra element that you could add to this save should you want to, is to only use Andorran players. Now whether that's coming out of your academy or signing them, it's up to you what you want to do, but it could be a build a nation kind of save where you manage FC Andorra whilst also giving chances to young Andorran talent to develop them, which will then help the national team, which you can also maybe manage at some point as well. I think it could be great fun for a save idea. I know a lot of people will be suggesting it for FM24. They have been rising up the divisions recently, FC Andorra, and your job will be to keep that push going. 2 saves to go now, and we're heading over to South America for something a little bit different, and we're going to Vigado Football Club. Now this is a team in Colombia, not predicted to do amazingly well. They're not one of the biggest sides in the league, but they have a lot of history, and that is because they have produced so many good young talents from the club. Now they are a team that are focused on youth recruitment. Using players out of their academy is a huge focus for the club, and you can see that with the oldest player at the club being 26, but the majority from here to here are 21 and under. So it goes to show you how much of a focus there is on youth development. Your job will be to try and take this side that's so focused on youth recruitment to keep that same thing up, so only using players that come out of your academy, and actually end up winning the Libertadores out in South America. If you don't know already, the Libertadores is the equivalent of the Champions League for the South American clubs. Do correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows for sure, but I believe the last time a Colombian side won the Libertadores was back in 1989 with Atlético Nacional, who are a very good team in their own right in the Colombian division. So there'll be a lot of competition, won't be easy, it will be a long save, but you'll be building up the nation of Colombia along the way. And they're a team that have actually produced a lot of great young players that you might have heard of, one being James Rodriguez, who of course was at one point a Galactico signing for Real Madrid. Juan Fernando Quintero at one point looked like he was going to be the next big thing. He also came from Envigado, and even recent wonderkids like Watford's Yasser Asparilla also came through the academy here, and famous names like Freddy Guarin as well. At one point he passed through Envigado's academy, so your job will be to continue that tradition, produce the next batch of great young players from Colombia. You'll get plenty of great wonderkids with 20 youth recruitment here at the club, improve the junior coaching, improve the youth facilities, and before you know it, you will have some wonderkids popping up left, right and centre to drag you to the Libertadores. And finally, we're going for a very, very interesting save, a David versus Goliath story, one that I didn't know about before recording this video. It's Clement Foot 63, a team that you might not recognise, but actually they are a side in the first division of France, and they're predicted to come in a relegation spot, but actually in real life this year, they finished top half of the table, I believe, actually done quite well. Now that is extremely surprising, one because, I mean, you can see here the facilities aren't great, their playing staff also isn't the best in the world, but there's an interesting fact with Clement Foot 63, and you are going to try and continue this when you manage them, and that is that this team does not spend money. And by that I don't mean that they're cheap. They've only brought in players on a free transfer or on loan. Now you might be thinking, Jake, it says they spent 2.1 million. Yes, I did check Transfer Market online, and it looks like this year was the first year they actually spent any money. But you know what? Of course they should be able to, because they made like £16 million in player sales. They reinvested £2.1 million of it, which is absolutely nothing. But every other season other than this, it's pretty much been free transfers, loans, that is it. They never spend money. And the whole time whilst doing that, this team has been rising up the divisions, went up as runners-up from the second division of France in 2021. Now they're going to still be here in the first division, getting some more money in. Maybe they will start to spend now in real life, but your job will be to not do that at all. Only bring in players on a free transfer, only bring in players on loan. And whilst doing that, you'll be competing with none other than Paris Saint-Germain, who will have Kylian Mbappe. They'll have all the best players in the world. You're going to try and topple them with your Clement Foot team without signing any players for any kind of fee. Sounds hard, sounds difficult, it is. They're not even going to produce many good wonder kids with this kind of coaching and recruitment, But you know what? That's the fun of a save. Work on it, stay in Ligue 1, try and survive for as long as you can, and eventually you might be able to produce one of the biggest fairy tale stories in football that there's ever been. So let me know if you're going to try that out, but that's 10 save ideas for you. Some easy, some hard, some somewhere in the middle. We've gone to North America, South America, Europe, and everywhere in between. But that'll be the end of today's video, so hopefully you all have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.